season coming up, but you also got to know the reality. There's some holes that we got to plug to be able to, take care of 2 tackle positions, a nose tackle position. There's a lot of work to be done, and thank God we've got 29 practices before the open ball game versus Western Michigan.
What do you think of the rule change eliminating 2-a-day practice?
It's created a little bit different aspect. It's added an extra week of knowledge, and you got to be smart. I think coaching staffs around the country are going to have to understand that it is an extra week. We are going into the new RARA NCAA rule, which gives our players a day off, a true day off during the week, which I think is an extreme advantage for them and their bodies and mentality. But it's something that each and every day you're going to have to look at your team and say, okay, where are we? And there may be some changes. You may have a full padded practice that you were planning on doing, but you got some injuries and you got to back off a little bit. You're going to have to gauge your team a little bit more, especially for us. You're talking about 5 straight weeks of training camp plus 12 straight games. And so we're going to have to manage our team extremely well. And thank goodness I have a good strength and conditioning staff, training staff with Russ Romano and Ivan Lewis that can help me in that area.
Coach, Sam Darnold going into fall camp for the first time as the opening day starter. What do you think that does for the cohesiveness of the offense?
No, it provides us, just like we're staying within the same system, to know who your leader is right off the bat and the things that he's accomplished, I think, help us tremendously. But the thing that I'm really have been impressed with Sam is his humbleness and his humility in the process. We all see his skill set, but how he has approached this off season from a work ethic standpoint, trying to progress as a student of the game. Our kids see that. Obviously there's some grand expectations for him, but he's welcomed those. That's part of being a USC quarterback. That's why you come to USC. You're the face of the program and you're the leader of the program.
Coach, how are you going to replace Adoree Jackson?
I don't know if you can. I tell you, Adoree is, I've been doing this in my 23rd year in college football, and one of the more special players and people I've ever been around. And when you talk about a guy that's a dominant corner, can help on offense, can do kickoff and punt return, that's hard to replace. I think we have strength in numbers this year, really, that we have some individuals that I think can really help us at the corner position. We're going to be finding our punt returner and kick returner. I think we've got some awesome candidates in those 2 areas. And, we've signed several young kids at wide receiver that we redshirted last year. They're going to have to come on and have a great chemistry with Sam in camp and provide some of that explosiveness that Adoree brought to the offensive side.
What did you learn during the 1-3 start last year, and how did that make you a better head coach going forward?
I understood how important relationships are. I had a huge advantage, just being real with myself, that, I had been at USC for 6 years. And part of being a head coach is having the trust and relationship with your players, that when you are in adverse times, that they trust the process, that they trust when you tell them that they're getting better each and every week, that they trust that you're saying the right things to them and you're being brutally honest with them. Probably the biggest thing I've learned last year is it's not all about the X's and O's, it's about the relationships with 18 to 21-year-olds and how important that is. Not in the good times, that's easy, but when things, when that adverse situation comes up, how you deal with it.
How are you a better football team this year than you were a year ago?
Without question, the lessons that we learned last year. I thought our maturity that we gained from game 1 to the Rose Bowl really showed. If you looked at us from game 1, I thought we were an immature football team, and we learned how to win games. We learned how important it was to protect the ball, limit penalties, understand that it's not about the hype of the game or the environment of the game, it's about the preparation for the game. And those are lessons that, our veterans have carried on. Now, what's the challenge? 24 newcomers coming in, and that onboarding process to bring them on and learn our culture and learn how we win and learn what it is to be a Trojan. That's why you love training camps. That's why you're excited as a coach and can't wait. I'm leaving right here from this thing to go to have our first team meeting tonight, so looking forward to that.
Sam Darnold talked about not only your X's and O's approach to the game, but off the field as well. How imperative is that for you as a head coach to get that message across, to conduct yourself as a player off the field?
Yeah, the way I've approached it is the way my daddy taught me. I've always said that I've got 3 children by birth, and I've got 105 I got the honor to adopt. And so I take it from a fatherly approach. You know, I have a 20-year-old son, and I treat our players just like I would treat Reed Helton. That it's my job not only to develop them as a football player and a student, but also as a professional, both on and off the field. Because the fact of the matter is, at some point in time, the game ends for all of us. And I want to look up when I'm 80 and they're 60, and I can be proud of saying that's a fine young man. And I had a little bit of a piece. Our staff had a little bit of piece of developing and going from a young man to a true professional.
Coach, what's your opinion on the new early signing period, and what kind of changes could you consider, you know, in recruiting?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different for us. Obviously, it's going to open up some official visits in the spring for juniors, which is going to be a little bit different for us. I think staffs are going to have to kind of enhance and push forward their decision making and evaluations a little bit. But you know, the early signing period, I think, is going to help with your midterm signees. You know, we've averaged anywhere from 5 to 10 midterm graduates a year. You're going to go ahead and get to sign those in December and then step on campus in January. And then there's some kids that just know they want to be Trojans. You know, they're done with the recruiting process. They want to end it, and they're not making any more visits. And they're 100% sure that's what they want to do. And they can end their process, which is nice for them. I still foresee, because of the time period, especially this year, we did not have the spring official visits, so you only have fall and winter official visits, that there will be a lot of February decisions still also this year.
Coach, going into fall camp, where are your major concerns right now?
Probably the biggest one is just the chemistry between Sam and our new receivers. I think they are beyond talented, the kids that we redshirted, but they haven't been in real life games yet. And to be able to see those bullets fly and see how they react, I think is going to be really, really important to us. I think about how Michael Pittman, how he came on the scene and helped us, you know, last season, and then having a Tyler Vaughns, a Trayvon Sidney, a Velus Jones, you know, a Josh Amortabebe, using that redshirt year and growing from that, and now it's their time to help us. And then a Joseph Lewis and a Randall Grimes coming on board. I think the chemistry between that wideout core and Sam is going to be ultra important. I really thank God that Deontay's with us, and we're getting Stephen Mitchell back off of injury, and the tight end position with Daniel Mortabebe and several others is going to play a big factor for us.
And you lost a lot on the offensive line as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, one of the things that when I look at it, just being realistic, is the interior core is still there. I think of Nico Fala, I think of Vianney Talamova, I think of Toa Lobodon. Those guys have played a lot of ball over the last 3 years. And then I think of guys like Chris Brown and Chuma Adoga. Even though they haven't been starters, they've played a lot of ball too. Our biggest challenge is to fill those 2 tackle roles. I know Chuma will definitely, you know, have an opportunity to be one of those guys. He had a very successful spring, very athletic, has played a lot of ball. And then our challenge will be to find that other position.
Coach, you talked about the leadership and the getting guys to trust you, and feeling that through last year, the lessons you learned. And how you overcame that slow start, was there any sense of validation just for how you've approached your job and how you've done things, or to kind of get through it with the players that the
one of the great lessons I learned, again, and it was advice from my dad when I first took the job, is one, be yourself, and then do what you believe in and don't change. You know, I believe 18 to 21-year-olds can smell falseness in a heartbeat, and I think you really got to believe in what you're doing. And if you believe you're heading in the right direction, stick with it, because we're such in a production-based business, and everybody wants instant results. But you have to sit down at times and say, okay, did you improve from Alabama to Stanford? From Stanford to Utah? Are you headed in the right direction, even though you're not getting the results? Do you believe in what you're doing right now? And if the answer is yes, continue it. No matter if the whole outside world's saying, hey, are you the right guy for the job? Do what you believe in, so you have no regrets, and then be the person that you are every day.
It seems like you've really kind of embraced this role of favorite. I mean, do you enjoy being in this position more than
say where you guys were last year, kind of coming in and?
Yeah, well, it's the normal position when you're at USC, and you have to welcome it. It's the reason that we came. Again, like I said, I see it as a great opportunity rather than an obligation. You know, to be able to have the opportunity to always be in that role. That's where you want to be. You want to be at the top, and you're fighting to be at the top. The reality is this: it's easy to go from where we were to number 3 in the country. It's harder to go from 3rd to 1. You know, and that's our challenge right now. It's going to take a lot of hard work during camp, and a lot of guys, especially those young guys, developing in a hurry for us to get there. But that's always going to be our expectations, and we welcome it.
I'm sure you saw the poll here. You know, you picked to win the conference.
Yes,
you kind of look at that and think that's about right, or?
Well, I think one thing about our conference, if you look at it from top to bottom, it's ultra competitive. And the reality of the Pac-12 South is I think we've had a different champion about each and every year. So if you don't bring your A game, you're going to get your butt beat. That's just a fact. So the way I look at it, it's nice to be able to have those accolades now. But we are a production-based business, and usually they look at the end of the year where you're at. Thank goodness sometimes they don't look at the beginning of the year, or I may have been in trouble. But at the end of the year, you add them all up. You take them one game at a time, try to improve each and every week. You try to treat every game like it's a playoff game, and hopefully you've got enough to put yourself in a position to win a championship.
How are you kind of preparing your players to kind of deal with, again, all the expectations?
Yeah, well, we started right from spring training camp with the question I asked: are you satisfied from last season? And if you're not, then we've got a lot of work to do, because we're going to be expected each and every year to be in that position, and that's why we came here. That's why we came to USC. So every day, that's why I wear this bracelet. It's 11 national championships and 25 Rose Bowls. I know it's our opportunity and our obligation to be able to change those numbers. And it reminds me each and every day we got to work towards that.
Were there any guys who didn't play last year that stood out during the spring that you're really looking forward to seeing again here in the fall?
Yeah, I tell you what, one that really stood out to me that had a really, really good spring was Velus Jones. To see his explosiveness and some of the things that he could do, not only as a receiver, but coming out of the backfield, some of the things that Adoree had done for us, I think is going to be a huge help. I absolutely loved to see the progression of Michael Pittman also, and the way he's accepting his role. And then it was nice to see Tyler Vaughns and Joshua Mortababy after a redshirt year really starting to learn the system. You can see the light bulb kind of clicking on. And then what I'm most excited about is, you know, you have Joseph Lewis and you have Randall Grimes coming on board. That's going to be a huge help for us. And then you can sleep at night because you got Deontay in your back pocket and Stephen Mitchell, who's played a lot of ball. So it's a talented group and just hasn't seen a ton of experience, and we got to get them those reps early.
Coach, last year an incredibly tough schedule in Dallas against Alabama, and then at Utah, some of those early season losses. A couple big early season games, but at home against Stanford, at home against Texas. How do you think that might help your team start the season differently?
Yeah, you know, one of the things we've had tremendous confidence playing in our place, and you look at last season and you look at playing in the city of Los Angeles, we've had a lot of success. So when you open up with Western Michigan, who had a dynamic season last year, and then go to Stanford and Texas, all three at home, obviously we love our home field advantage. We'll take it every time, but we know those are going to be 3 fist fights, and then we learned from last year how important it is to start fast. You can do all that you want in October and November, and we've been really good. But if you don't start fast, it's hard to get to where you want to be. So it's going to be critical for us to open up those 3 ball games and be hitting on all cylinders.
Coach, not too long ago, you were a freshly minted Pac-12 coach. Do you have any advice for the coaches at Oregon and Cal?
Yeah, you know, just like I said before, just be yourself and do what you believe in. And the one thing that I have seen, just looking from what Coach Taggart has put together and what J-Dub has put together, they've put together great staffs. They've surrounded themselves with really quality men, and then you put the personnel that the both of them have, they'll do great. They're 2 really good ball coaches. And, you know, we'll play Cal, Oregon, we'll see later on down the line, maybe, but they're going to be 2 forces to be reckoned with. They're good quality coaches.